I would say probably the easiest one was a song called House of Gold. I wrote it on the ukulele, and I didn't know how to play the uke when I bought it, so I went to a music store, and I was like, oh, that's cute. And I bought a ukulele, and started playing. And if you know the song, it starts with just like one string, and that's it. Yeah, it's just like one string playing over, and so I kind of sang this part that just came so natural. I think it had something to do with writing a song on a new instrument, that all of these possibilities were available. And then after that, I realized I should probably learn some chords. So I put some chords into it. But I was in a parking lot, I remember, when I played the uke for the first time, and I was writing that song. So that one was probably the easiest. The hardest, surprisingly, the song Bandito on this newest record was the one that took the longest to write. The idea had existed way longer than the record and these batch of songs had existed. So it was definitely the oldest song, but also was the last song that I finished on the record too. So it was a pretty good answer too.
Yeah, great answer.
On fire.
I'm trying to think. I think that I just picked up the trumpet when I was 12. That was the first instrument that I played. So for some reason, yeah, my grandpa took me to like the jazz orchestra in Ohio, and for some reason I was like drawn to that. I don't know if it was anyone super in particular. And then I got into like rock music and like hip hop and stuff like punk a little bit after. And then I was like, I'm over the trumpet kind of. So I played the drums.
It's not very punk.
It's not very. It's more ska.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
What's one quality that Josh has that you wish you had?
I don't know if we have time for all of it.
A lot of qualities that I wish I had. Yeah, we've talked about this before, because I think that it's when you're in a two-person band, the emphasis on that relationship is a little bit it's just a little bit more important. And by that I just mean like with bands with more people in it, you kind of can just like bounce around, like, and most bands will have like this type of person, this type of person, this type of person. So with just us and kind of like us being together a lot, I think that like having different characteristics and personalities has actually worked well for us. In some ways we're like the exact same, and then in other ways we're totally different. And I think that it's really helpful. And there are definitely like ways in which I wish I could. Let me try and think of yeah, there are multiple.
You don't have to make them all physical.
Okay, well then there's not that many.
You can think deeper.
I think I've never been good at talking in front of people, and I kind of like I'm not good at articulation sometimes because of that, and like explaining what I'm trying to say. And Tyler's great at getting a whole bunch of people kind of on the same page and making everything make sense and making it simple for people to understand and get people to rally behind something. And I think that's a really cool and important thing.
Oh.
And he's good at basketball.
No, Josh has a very natural way of seeing the good in people right away. Sometimes I can approach things a little more cynical or negative, and I've found that it's almost never better to do that. So when Josh meets someone or comes in contact with someone, I'm almost always looking to him to see how it is that, what's the right way to act in this setting. And so that's something I wish that I had more of, but also have learned a lot from him, just being around him, watching him interact with new people all the time for the first time. It's cool.
Oh.
And his chest. Great question. Well, there's something that comes before being in the right headspace. And you have to make sure that you're prepared to manage whatever inspiration comes your way. So before inspiration strikes, you have to work hard. You have to make sure that when you're doing writing exercises or when you're forcing yourself to work on a certain production element or get better at an instrument, or there's a lot of things that aren't necessarily fueled by inspiration that you have to work on so that you have the skill when it happens. So a lot of times I always talk about songwriting is kind of like being a muscle that you have to work out and have to get stronger and have to tear down and build back up. And so I'm not walking around all day long inspired. You know, there's times where you have to do what you don't feel like doing. And even though I don't feel like writing songs, it's what I love to do, right? So those things can be disconnected sometimes, and that's okay. So then, once you're at that point where you have the skill, you've worked on your craft, when that inspiration happens, you're ready for it. And specifically with lyrics, it'll be an interaction with someone. It'll be a word. It'll be a sound. It'll be a certain thought, something you saw that you can't anticipate it. It'll just happen, and you've got to be ready. I think what I try to do with lyrics is, what's this thing I felt like I've always had, I've always felt, I've never been able to explain it to anyone. How can I explain it, but in a way I've never heard it explained before? How can I, this thing that I'm working through, how can I put a different word to it, a different angle, a new angle? Seeing a problem that's been around for my whole life from a different angle almost gives me a sense of control over that problem. The songwriting, I've realized, is trying to look at the same problem that I've had for a long time from a different angle. And I guess in a sense, you guys who make the music your own are kind of seeing it from my angle with me, and we're kind of trying to solve it together. So I hope that answers your question, but kind of like that.
Perfect.
Cool.
Yeah. Thank you.
Since it's just Central Holiday, I just want to say thanks again for everyone that came out today, made the time. Thanks you guys once again for coming out here.